Brianna Ravello.
Anisha Kalra.
Abdullah Chowdhury.
Vanessa Gilello.
Did you know that as of today, 103,000 people are still in the wait list for getting a heart transplant? And as of 2023, only 46,000 were able to get one. Keeping that into perspective, we have 5 candidates and we're only able to choose one. Let's meet them. Here we have the 41-year-old mom. She was a former drinker. 30-year-old woman. She is a workaholic and had an unhealthy lifestyle. 45-year-old dad. He's financially stable and has family. The 59-year-old man, he has financial issues, health issues, and his family is in a bad condition. Then we have the 35-year-old woman. She is homeless and suffers from health issues as well.
Now let's talk about the pros and cons of each candidate. First, we have the 41-year-old mom who has insurance but is a former alcoholic and doesn't have as much support. Now we have the 30-year-old woman who can pay for the treatment, is young, but has no support system and unhealthy lifestyle. Now the 59-year-old man, he has people to take care of him, but he's very poor and is a former smoker and has higher blood pressure levels. Now the 45-year-old man, he has a healthy lifestyle, he can pay for the treatment and has a strong support system, but he's older in age. And at last, we have the 35-year-old woman who's younger and has a decent lifestyle, but is homeless and poor and has no support system.
So you might be wondering, who did we choose? We chose the father. And of course, we did this off of some research, and our research question was, what impact who gets heart transplant?
So we compiled all of our research and categorized them into, well, 3 categories. First one was finances, then medical history, and lastly, support. So these were 3 categories we chose, and we essentially determined that they were the most important in choosing our candidate. First, we're going to walk through finances, so whether they can afford the actual transplant, whether they have insurance, and all of that.
One of the first things that's looked at is, can you pay for the actual heart transplant? According to a bioethicist at NYU, Arthur Kaplan says, but requiring proof of payment for organ transplants and post-operative care is common. It happens every single day. So how much does it actually cost? $1.6 million. And that's not something everybody can afford. And on top of that, you have $2,500 in anti-rejection drugs for the rest of your life. But obviously there's a loophole, insurance. If you have the right insurance, up to 80% of the costs can be covered, which means you have to pay as little as $100,000. That is a big cut, but how many people actually know about this loophole? Only 19% of Americans understand that if you have life insurance, you can have heavily financial burdens taken off of you, and only 19% of Americans actually have it. So the candidates we were eliminated based off of finances alone were the 59-year-old man, because he doesn't have insurance and he's not financially stable. Next, 30-year-old woman, even though she doesn't have insurance, she might actually be able to pay for it, but she will be placed under a significant financial burden. And finally, the 35-year-old woman, because she is in a horrible financial state as she is homeless and doesn't really have a job or insurance.
Alright, now we will be talking about the medical history. So this includes lifestyle choices, their lifestyle in general, and any past conditions. So smoking and drinking. Smoking, we have a direct quote from, well, Science Direct. Both donor and the recipient smoking has been shown to increase graft loss and mortality in solid organ transplants recipients in many studies. So this clearly underlines the fact that smoking has a major effect on the success and eventually mortality of the actual recipient. As for drinking, we have another quote from Clinical Transplantation. Alcohol is one of the most commonly abused substances in the United States and has negative effects on cardiovascular impacts. That in itself speaks as to why we've eliminated people based on their alcohol usage. So, who have we eliminated due to their bad medical history? First is the 41-year-old mother. She's a former alcoholic, which is, despite the fact that she's a former alcoholic, it still has, the alcohol may have lasting damage on her body, which is why we've eliminated her. The 59-year-old man, he's a former smoker, so that could also bring more complications. And we've also eliminated the 30-year-old woman because she both smokes and drinks heavily, which is a horrible combination.
Then we have our other how we chose, which is based on support if they have a family or if they can afford to have a caretaker. UCLA Health says that having a caregiver is critical, it's key. The transplant process can be very exhausting and draining, and it's important to have a caretaker to help you get through that process. And studies show that patients with caregivers or support systems end up recovering better or faster than those who don't. According to the National Library of Medicine, 34% of people took longer than expected to recover because they did not have a support system or a caregiver. And overall, those who did, 88% of people found their caretakers very helpful. So who can we eliminate? We have the 30-year-old. She has no family who could take care of her, and people that would miss her. 35-year-old. She has no family and not enough money to even pay for a caregiver. Then we have the 59-year-old. His family lives away, and his wife got into an accident and it's in bad condition.
Now let's talk about the limitations of our candidate. The only limitation that he has is that he's a middle-aged man and has already lived a decent portion of his life.